Hello everybody, I'm that dude over there, and randomization brings a breath of fresh air into whatever game that gets played. I mean, what's more interesting? Watching someone play Pokemon with your average starter Pokemon? Or watching someone make a narrative about how they're the second coming of God with Arceus as their starter? My point being that randomization adds a bit of chaos and interest into a pretty boring run. However, a lot of ideas for randomization have been taken already by others. Randomized Pokemon, you got your choice of Mystery Dungeon or the mainline games with plenty of playthroughs. Fire Emblem has its own fair share of randomizers, and runs that randomize more complex titles like Path of Radiance. Even Kingdom Hearts has its fair share of randomized runs. So I looked into a series that didn't have too many randomized runs, and came across a gem, Chrono Trigger. For the unaware, Chrono Trigger is a game developed by Square that follows teenagers who fight an Eldritchian monster for the sake of the world. You know, a typical Final Fantasy game. However, Chrono Trigger stands out for having a great time travel narrative that culminates with the main character dying. Oh, also this game inspired the first game theory episode, trying to figure out how the time travel works and if Chrono was God or Jesus or something. Anyway, Chrono Trigger has a randomizer, and based off what I could find on YouTube, there aren't that many playthroughs, so I thought I'd give you the experience lost to the sands of time. Can we defeat Lavos at the futuristic time of 1999? Or will we be thrown into the depths of night, with no idea how to proceed? Let's sit back and find out. So what exactly got randomized in this run? Well, first off, our characters got randomized. Typical stuff, we no longer play as the silent protagonist and now get to play as a character. Next, our characters got randomized. Now, I know it sounds like I'm repeating myself, but no, I mean our characters got randomized. What happened was our palettes got swapped along with our equips and spell list, meaning a character like Isla, who has great strength and speed, could become Marl, with great magic and healing. It'll become more clear when we start the game. Next, the standard shops and items are randomized, but along with that, the shop prices are randomized, meaning even weak equipment will sell high if we're lucky, and very minuscule items will be a fortune. And the last thing I'm going to mention is that the skill lists also got randomized, meaning we could have great skills instead of the low level 1 skills. That's it, let's go! We begin the game and our starting characters are Luca and Frog. However, because of their skills, we're actually starting with Magus and Isla. To keep track of who's who, besides Luca, who I take the role of, I give everyone their secondary name. In this case, Frog is now Glenn. The color palettes look really nice for our team, and after watching Chrono's mom get swept to time, we hop in the Epic and begin the game. The Epic is our time machine, and it's going to be the key to completing this game. See, unlike any other randomizer I've seen, the Chrono Trigger randomization run is more or less a puzzle. All the characters are thrown through time, and to get them, you need to find the right puzzle pieces to unlock their time in history. However, that is all save 2 characters. The first one is the character you get after you beat a horde of fiends in the cathedral. Our ally drops to save Glenn from taking a sneak attack, and it's revealed to be Robo in the form of Frog. After adding R66Y to the team, we venture deep into the cathedral to get our other character, facing our first boss along the way. I forgot to mention that bosses also got randomized. I didn't know which bosses would get thrown into the randomizer, so I went in with no expectations. Thankfully, we get somewhat lucky with an optional boss from the future. The gimmick to defeat it is needing to hit the right spot. Basically, we need to engage in a bit of gambling to win. We lose HP if we miss, and we deal heavy damage if we win. Thanks to R66Y, we have a form of healing with Heal, which is actually Frog's late game healing method. After several spins, we finally kill the Son of the Sun and unlock Ally 2, Chrono in the form of Marl. I'm not gonna lie, the Chrono color palette on Marl looks really good. Like, I was genuinely surprised at how it came out. Now with these 2 characters unlocked, we need to find a way to get some key items. Like I said before, they'll get us access to different time periods, and in some cases certain characters. Luckily for us though, we have one of the easiest bosses coming up. South of Guardia Castle is a quicksand pit that holds a boss that's weak to water magic, including ice. Also, in the shop above, we find low-selling frenzy bands that have a 90% counterattack rate, if we get hit. So we mosey on way to the hole, and I remember the bosses are randomized. So instead of fighting a ground gremlin with our water gang, a female-looking robot from the future. They remind me of Robo, but that can't be, because R66Y looks like Frog. We defeat the robot, and before returning to 1000 AD, we climb the Denadora Mountains to fight another futuristic boss in the form of Lava Spawn. We get the gate key from the Lava Spawn, and return to the present to obtain a ribbon that will improve Robo when we find him, and not R66Y, but the person who's wearing their skin. We run into a corner store hoping to find a useful tool. However, we get a thief's favorite soda instead. This soda, not alcohol, unlocks a dungeon in the Middle Ages. However, because I'm nervous about taking on a boss like that, we continue looking around for more puzzle pieces. So we venture through Hecarim Cave to get some useful equipment from my dad, and fight the revamped version of Slash along the way. Dad gives us the hero medal for R66Y, which is a good accessory, but not a clue to get the person who will be in Frog's recruitment spot. I get a bit stumped on what to do here, but then I remember that I have the gate key, which means I can go to the prehistoric era. The prehistoric era has two potential key items we can unlock by going to the Tyranno Lair or the Reptite hideout. We need the Dreamstone to access the full of Tyranno Lair, so we head to the Reptite's hideout instead. However, before we do, we scale a mountain to go check our next character unlock. It turns out to be Isla, wearing the skin of Luca. Since Isla doesn't have a second name like Frog or Robo, we call her Monkey in reference to her time period. With the power of fire, we make it to the bottom of the hideout, where we encounter the defender of the Reptites, Zombor of 600 AD. With its defeat, we get the pendant, which gives us access to the future thanks to Chrono. And since we do have the protagonist in our group, this time named Proda, since Chrono doesn't also have a second name, we return to the present day and firmly get arrested. We bust out and then make our way to the future. Now in the future, we get our next main character in the form of Magus wearing Chrono's skin. With Yanis by our side, we defeat one future boss for the Ruby Knife and a second future boss for access to the end of time. A small hub area that connects us to all time periods. Now, technically we could go for Lavos now and end the run, but we're still missing the final member of our party, Marl wearing Robo skin. We search the Giant's Claw now that we have a full roster to pull from, and face off against Giga Gaia from the Dark Ages. Upon defeat, we find the Rainbow Shell and tear off a piece that becomes the Moonstone. The Sunstone will get us an item later, but we need Marl and Robo's skin to do so. So we stop at the warfront on a bridge for a clue on where to go next, and get a Prism Shard. This will get us an item later, but we need Marl and Robo's skin to do so. Man, where the heck are the key items for Marl? She's really holding us back from fighting Lavos. With no other choices left, we fly to the Dark Ages to fight some bosses there. We need to be careful here because there is a chance to get into the final boss room from this era. So, what do we find here? The clone doll of me. So we return to the future to fight the boss who takes place of the son of the Sun God and obtain the first part of Marl's recruitment. We then move to the robot factory for the R-Series robots and fight normal Slash to deactivate the factory and get a new key item. We obtain the Chrono Trigger, which is supposed to revive me when I die. So we stop a death from occurring on Death Peak that hasn't happened yet in hopes to get the second half of Marl's recruitment. Thankfully, we do find it, and also end up summoning a dungeon for the final boss. So after a quick trip to the weaponsmith, we repair the Mossa Moon to unlock Marl and Robo's skin. With Nadia's involvement, the map opens up completely. We can complete the Rainbow Shell quest, getting the tools to complete Glenn's side quest, and thanks to Melchior, he was able to convert the Sunstone we've been holding onto into some nice tasty jerky. The tools buff up Glenn after overcoming PTSD, and the jerky gets us Nova armor. We get the Dreamstone and raid the Tyranno Lair, where we fight the only enemy that didn't seem to randomize, the Black Tyranno. Now with the power of the full party, it's time to tackle the one era that we haven't explored yet. We raid the Ocean Palace in the Dark Ages using Yanis, Monkey, and Proda. Why? Because they are the reskins of the real protagonists, Marl, Chrono, and Luca. Oh, also because they have a triple tech, and I feel the most comfortable using them. We reach the bottom and face off against the duplicated decapitated heads of the Rust Chrono. But once that's done, we stop the Mammoth machine and get warped to Lavos. We're supposed to die here, but you can actually prevent this from happening by killing Lavos' first form. Queen Zeal is just as flabbergasted as Lavos as we take the moment to rush at his second form that is just a knockoff Dragon Ball character. With no other options left, Lavos reverts to his final form that totally didn't give me trouble the first time I played Chrono Trigger. I think the two things I could have done better for this fight is leveled up a bit more and equip status effect neutralizers. But despite this, we defeat Lavos and approach the end of the game, where everyone says goodbye, Mom warps through time again, and because we didn't destroy the Epic, we chase after her. This is definitely the video of all time. I won't accept any further questions, and I have no final thoughts, so stay safe out there while I come up with a better video idea. Alright, bye.